Hello, my friend, and welcome to this Technical Tuesday. And we're going to do a classic mother sauce today. This is a bechamel. If you're in the South or anywhere in the country, you've made a milk gravy, a country gravy, a sausage gravy, a bacon gravy, something with a roux and milk. You've made American version of the bechamel. Really, the only difference between the French version we're doing here and the American version is simply the flavorings. All right, so making a roux here. I've got a video for that. You can click on that link or in the description. It shows you all the stages of roux making. But this is going to be a very loose roux, not peanut butter texture like usually. We're going to let that cook for a minute or two just to knock off that raw flour smell and taste. And if you ever wonder what that's like, just smell some raw flour, even taste it, and you'll know what we're trying to avoid. But I don't want any color on that roux. Now I'm adding my whole milk. Now, the thing to remember when you're cooking with dairy products, milk or cream on the stove, you got two things to worry about, and that is scorching and boil over. So, this is not a time when you can just walk away. We'll get to that in just a second. So, I'm incorporating all my milk, getting that stirred in. And now, what I want to do is I'm going to bring this to a simmer, a very light simmer for about 20 or 25 minutes. And I'm going to come in with my spatula every 1 or 2 minutes. And I'm not just stirring, I'm actually using the bottom of the spatula to scrape the bottom and scrape the corner, if you will, between the sides and the bottom to make sure nothing is sticking that will eventually become scorched. That's very important when making this. You want to avoid that because, as one instructor told me, there ain't no such thing as a little burnt. Hey kids, we're going to flavor this thing now with what's called an onion piqué. Piqué, Pique, it's French word which means to pierce. We're going to pierce that bay leaf with this clove, whole clove that looks like a little brad or a tack or a small nail. We're going to stick it through that bay leaf into the onion so that it all floats around together. When we're finished, we can remove it easily. Now, don't do as I do. I put this on the bottom. You'll see it's going to float, try to float like that. That bay leaf eventually became one with the pan. Now you just want to bring it to a simmer for 20-25 minutes, keeping it stirred every 1 or 2 minutes and keep a watchful eye. There you go. It's flavoring. Now we're going to start the very important step of straining the sauce, and that is to remove any kind of solids that we have in there, maybe a piece of clove or anything that has coagulated that we don't want. We're going to get rid of that by running it through this fine mesh strainer. Now it is very smooth. Ran through that pretty quick, but that's essentially it. Now we're going to test for nappe. That means to coat the back of the spoon, and look at that. A beauty. So now the very important step of flavoring with nutmeg. Now some people don't like bechamel because of the nutmeg, but it's a background flavoring. If you can taste nutmeg, you put in too much. So just a very little bit of amount to help support the sauce. I'm going to stir that in, get that well incorporated. There we go with that word again. And voila, your bechamel. And on to turning that into a Mornay sauce. And we're going to do that by adding some cheese. So I'm going to add a mixture of Parmesan and Gruyere, about 75% by weight Gruyere and the rest Parmesan. Uh, the difference in density, I have to add the Parmesan twice to get it in there. So anyway, I got the Parmesan going in. I'm going to incorporate it. Thanks, Chef Brian, for putting that in my head about incorporate. Anyway, we're going to make sure that cheese fully melts. I added 2 batches of Parmesan there, and now the batch of Gruyere. Oh, if you haven't tried Gruyere, it is such a wonderful cheese from Switzerland, I believe. And so I'm just going to incorporate that. I can't stop saying it. I'm going to stir to well combine, but particularly my goal here is to melt this cheese. Now, the thing is, you probably noticed I put up a little banner before. There's been no salt at all added to this. The only salt that's in here now is the salt that was in the cheese. So I want to make sure that I wait until that happens before I start the seasoning process. simply because I do not want to add salt and then add cheese and realize later that I've over salted. So now I'm going to come in and basically get ready to strain it. Well, first I'm going to taste for seasonings. So here I am, my first taste for seasoning, and get it in there. There you go. So I need a little salt, and I'm going to use some white pepper. Now this is a white sauce. You don't want to add any kind of black pepper to this. A little cayenne would work, but I'm going to use white pepper here, and that goes in very, very well. I'm going to adjust this several times. I actually end up adding quite a bit of white pepper. It's not spicy. It's just took quite a bit to balance that out. So got that all incorporated. We got it seasoned up. We're going to get there, I promise. And good thumbs up on the seasoning. So now the next very important step is we're going to strain the Mornay sauce. We strained the bechamel. Now we're going to strain this so that we can remove any unmelted chunks of cheese or anything else that may be in there to make our sauce texture unpleasant. So we're going to get that in there, and the same procedure as before. I'm just going to push it through. I'm just going to speed through that. We don't need to see that again. Push that through the fine mesh strainer. Remove it from the bottom after I do. And then we are almost good to go. I'm going to taste it one last time. Make sure that strainer didn't take any salt out. And we are good. That's your Mornay sauce.